Hi everyone, it's Chad from Lamb Cakes. I just want to thank you for joining me in my kitchen. Hopefully you're nice and safe and warm in your kitchen or somewhere where you can decorate your cookies for Santa. We're about a week away from Christmas, so Santa will be here in about 6 days. Well, Christmas Eve is 5 days away, so we're going to get these cookies decorated for Santa and we'll have fun doing it. Okay, so inside each of your cookie kits you should have a bag of white icing, a bag of red icing, some red and white sprinkles, two stocking cookies, and two Christmas tree cookies. Now, of course, if you have more cookies that you baked at home, or if you want to bake some prior to decorating, you can do that. I'm going to show you a few simple techniques that you can use to decorate the cookies, and you can feel free to do whatever you'd like, or you can just get creative and do whatever feels good, just like drawing or coloring. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my sprinkles and set them to the side. And then I'm going to take my bags and I'm going to knead the bag. You want to make sure that this all gets worked back together. It's been sitting for a couple days. So you just want to make sure that it's all nice and smooth and ready to be worked with. There shouldn't be any separation. There should just be one solid texture, one solid color. You'll be able to see that a little better with the red. You might see some streaks of dark colors. It almost looks like there's water in there. So it's just separated a little bit. So you just need to mix it back up. Just knead it really well until you have one nice solid color and consistency. I'm sorry for any crinkly noises. That's just part of the fun. Okay, so I'm going to show a couple of different techniques. And the first one I'm going to do is just going to require us. It's called a fill. So we'll add to that in a second. We want to do that first because we want that to dry. Okay, so I'm going to set some of these aside. Now I also have with me a pair of scissors. And I have a toothpick. You can also use a butter knife if you have one of those available. And I just have a little napkin or paper towel set off to the side. You can use a wet nap or any sort of just something to keep your toothpick clean, your fingers clean, your table as clean as possible. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my red bag, and I have my stocking cookie here. And I'm going to take my scissors and just cut the very edge of my bag. I don't need a big hole, and I just need enough for the icing to come out. So I'll cut that there. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the outline of the cookie. I'm just going to pipe a line all the way around. It's sometimes helpful to hold the bag up a little higher. You don't need it to be directly on top of the cookie. And we know how stockings have that nice fluffy top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this with the red, and then we'll put some nice white and some red and white sprinkles on top to kind of give it some texture and make it look fluffy. So I'm just going to fill this in. And there's some spaces there, and that's okay. You don't have to have this completely filled in, because what we're going to do is, as you can see, there's some space there. I'm just going to come through with my toothpick and smooth it all out and fill in those gaps. That also gets the air bubbles out of my icing, so that when it dries, I don't have any air holes that dry. I'm just going to smooth that all over the cookie. Until it's filled in completely. Okay. And that's that. So that's completely filled in. Like I said, I want this to dry off because I'm going to be going back through and putting sprinkles on it. And I want this to be dry to the touch because if I put sprinkles on while it's still wet, the sprinkles will get stuck on the stocking, and I just want them on the top part here. I don't want them all over the stocking. Okay, so I'm going to set that one aside. I'm going to take up my toothpick and just wipe it off on my towel here. Okay, now another technique I'm going to show you is using the toothpick to give a nice pattern. So you can create a really cool looking pattern without doing too much work. And I know you're thinking Christmas trees are usually green, But I think that Santa, since he dresses in all red and has the white fur on his hat and gloves, and I think he'd really enjoy the red and white cookies while he's traveling. Plus, everyone else is making green, so we're going to have a little more fun. Okay, so the same thing. I'm going to cut the tip of the bag just a little bit. I don't need a big giant hole there. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing we did on the stocking. I'm just going to outline the cookie. And I'm going to leave that bottom there for the trunk, because the color of the cookie makes a better trunk than just plain white, because we know the trunks are brown. And even though we're not making a green tree, I don't want my tree to be all white. You can make it all white if you want. But I'm going to leave that trunk. And maybe I'll come back later and give it a red trunk, so it looks like it's maybe even in a pot. Okay, and then with my toothpick, I'm just going to smooth this all out again. And now with this one, while it's still wet, that's how we're going to get the cool design in it. I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to use our red bag. Okay, so always keep all of your supplies handy. And all I'm going to do with that red bag is I'm going to draw a line from side to side on the tree. I'm just going to go around where the base of the tree would be, and then at the base of each set of branches. And this isn't a straight line, it's a slight curve. But if you want to do a straight line, that's okay too. Okay, and then with my toothpick, I'm going to take my toothpick and draw all the way from the bottom to the top. I'm going to do that on the edges. I did it up the middle. You kind of have to work a little faster with this part. Okay, and then I'm coming back down the other way. And when I do that, it makes kind of a spider web pattern, but it makes the tree look like a Christmas tree. And that's a lot more simple than trying to draw all that on there. And all I did, like I said, I just did pipe those lines across, and then I took my toothpick and I went up on the sides and up the middle, and then I split the difference on those and went up, and then you go back through and you go the opposite direction. In between all those lines that you just drew up, you just draw down. And now I have this nice little tree. Like I said, I can come back later and I can make that trunk a different color. Maybe I'll make it red. Whenever you're doing these cookies, you don't want to put both colors on right away without too much drying, unless you're doing a pattern. So that my first one, if I had this red and I didn't let it dry and I put the white on, sometimes what will happen is those colors will bleed together. And what that means is some of the red, because it's such a dark color, will go into the white. And the next day, you might have some pink instead of white and red. So that's not a big deal. It still tastes delicious. It might not look quite as clean, but it's going to be tasty, so we're not going to care too much either way. Okay. So now I have this cookie, and it's pretty much completely finished. Okay, nice and easy. Now I really like that pattern, so I want to do something similar with my other stocking, I think. So I'm going to take my white bag, since I have a red stocking already. And if you want 2 red stockings, well, that's quite all right. This is your design. You can do whatever you want. I'm just giving you some guidelines. Actually, I'm going to take this all the way to the top. I'm going to make this whole cookie white. That's just my bag burping. Okay, I keep that strong grip, but sometimes air still comes out of the top, and that's okay. Okay, so we have that mostly filled in. So I'll take my toothpick Get all the air bubbles out and fill in all those gaps on the cookie. Now the thing with cookies, when you're decorating them, or even with cakes or things like that, it takes a lot of patience. So don't get frustrated. Like I said, no matter what, we're just going to eat these and they're going to be delicious anyway. So if it doesn't come out quite the way you were hoping, that's alright. The first few times I made cookies, it definitely didn't turn out right. I can tell you that. It just takes lots of practice. Okay, so I'm going to put a pattern in the top here, similar to what we did with our Christmas tree. I'm going to draw some lines. Again, you can do this however you want. Okay, so with those lines, I'm just going to go up on the outsides. So up on the outsides and up in the middle, up in between, and down in between all of those. So that gives my stocking a little bit more of a decorative top. So I have the white. And again, that's just the same pattern that we did on the Christmas tree. We just repeated it on the top of the stocking. Okay, so that leaves one more in our little 4-pack of cookies here. And this is another Christmas tree. So this one, I'm just gonna let you be creative and do whatever you want. Maybe you want to just scribble. Maybe you want to make another cool pattern. Maybe you want to fill it one color and decorate it with another. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fill it with red. I'm gonna give myself a nice red tree. And I'm gonna make the whole thing red. So I'm gonna outline the whole thing. And the reason we outline it is so that whenever we fill it in, the icing doesn't just flow over the edge. Outlining gives it a little wall, it gives it a little border to prevent the icing from just falling all over the place. And a little bit goes a long way. You should have extra icing left over, so you can decorate some more cookies of your own if you want. If you don't have any icing left over, that's okay. Maybe you got really creative and you did a lot on your cookies. These are your little works of art and you can do whatever you want. I'm just going to give you, like I said, just some guidelines and some basic tips. Okay. So all the air pockets are out of that. Now obviously one thing we could do is just take our sprinkles and throw them all over the place. But I'm going to do that in a different way. I'm going to show you how. Okay, I'm going to go back to my stocking here. This is the first one we did, and if I touch it, I'm just touching it a little gently. It's making a little bit of a dent here and there. You can kind of see those. So you want to make sure there's no dents. This might take another few minutes to dry. Again, that's where we have patience, or maybe we're going to go stop and we're going to go read a book and we'll come back to this later. Maybe we'll stop, we'll help mom and dad clean, we can cook a little, we can make a snack. But I think these are going to make really good snacks for Santa. Okay, so this is it's still pretty dry, even though it's leaving a little bit of a dent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the white, I'm going to fill the top of the stocking with the white. Okay, so I'm doing this the same way. You draw the outline and then fill it in. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the sprinkles, put the sprinkles on top of the white. And you'll see that some of them fell on the red, but like I said, it should be dry enough that when we lift it up, those sprinkles just fall off. It wasn't quite as dry as I was hoping. But look, that came right off with just a little bit of a toothpick. Okay, so I put the sprinkles on top, and now I have a nice fluffy sprinkled stocking for Santa. I'm going to take all these sprinkles and just kind of slide them off the table into my hand. And of course our table is clean, so I can just put these back in the container. You'll definitely probably have a lot of extra sprinkles, so you can use those on whatever you'd like. So I'm going to go back to my second tree. Second cookie, first tree. And I'm going to add that red bottom like I said I was going to make it kind of look like it's in a red flower pot. Okay, so there's my finished tree. I'm going to go back to my stocking, the white stocking that I did with the pattern on top. And I think I'm going to write my name on this one. I'm lucky because my name is only 4 letters. If you have a really long name, maybe you want to abbreviate it. Maybe you want to use your initials. Our initials are the first letter of my first name and the first letter of my last name, or even my middle name too. But like I said, my name is short, so I'm just going to write my name on it. I'm going to write it right on the bottom here. I'm just going to use big block letters. And your writing is however you want to do it. It could be in cursive. It could be in just regular print. It could just be scribbles. You don't even have to write. So there's my stocking with my name on it, so Santa knows where to leave the good presents in my stocking. Okay, and then we have this tree. Now this one I came back, like I said, just like the stocking, I want this to be a little dry, so I might go and do something and come back to this one in just a second. Okay, so I went and had a little snack and came back, and my tree is a lot more dry than it was. And I think for this one all I'm going to do is, you know how we have garland on our trees, I'm just going to put a nice curve of white on my red tree, connecting one side to the other on all the branches. Okay, then I've got my sprinkles. I'm going to set this on my paper towel. So I'm going to make a little bit of a mess maybe with all these sprinkles. I'm just throwing them all over the whole cookie. Like I said, hopefully that bread is nice and dry. So when I lift this up, sprinkles will all fall off where I don't want them. Okay, so see how it was covered in sprinkles? And now we just have the sprinkles on the garland. And the reason I put the sprinkles on my paper towel is I can just fold up the edges and dump those right back in to use them on the next cookie. Okay, there's still a few on the table. We'll get those off here the same way we did before. Just swipe them into your hand. Okay, so now I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've got 4 cookies ready to go for Santa. I'll turn them around so you can see them from your view. And like I said, these are nice and easy decorations. Pretty much anyone can do them. And if they're not as good as you think they should be, just remember, this is your first time. Maybe it's your second time. But for me, this was about my 100th time. So I've had lots of practice, and I don't expect anyone to be professionals right off the bat. This is something that takes practice and time and patience. But as long as you did have fun, and you put some heart and soul into it, then Santa's going to love these cookies, and you're going to have a great Christmas. So enjoy your holiday, stay safe, and hopefully we'll have one of these classes in person next year. Merry Christmas.